This is Newkirk, redevelopment precinct, spawning in the bottom right-hand position. The blue Terran from Samsung Khan. His name is Reality.
His opponent spawning as a red Terran on the bottom left side. They call him the ultimate weapon of KT Roaster. His name is Flash, Yi Young Ho.
Indeed, he is the ultimate weapon. So accomplished. People probably are going to write books about this guy in the future, considering that they've already written about Boxer.
Well, Boxer was an autobiography.
Yeah, that is true, but I'm sure people will write about him too.
Or he could write a book for himself. I mean, this guy is, you know, I have to say he's a great gamer, but that's also because he understands the game well, so, I mean, he's one smart dude.
He's a great gamer because he understands the game well.
Right. Well, the thing is that if you want to, if you want to become a great gamer, you need two things: one, the mechanics of physical, and two, you need to understand the game really well. Flash is this, you know, monster who does everything so well. I have to say.
That's true. If you want to be a great StarCraft 2 player, you need the mechanics and you need the game knowledge. But you also have to add in another factor. If you're actually a professional player and you're playing on the top level, you also have to deal with your mindset as well. That becomes a humongous factor when you're playing, because, you know, when you're on the stage, you're tending to get a little bit more nervous. You're not going to be playing as safe as ever, so it just completely changes the whole ballpark playing field.
I have to feel sorry for Reality. Starting round 4, he faced Innovation, who has 19 wins this season, Rain, who has 19 wins this season, Flash, who has 20 wins this season, and his next match is against Hydra, who has 18 wins this season.
So I think that Reality, he's better than we give him credit for, because a lot of his losses come from some of the best players in Pro League.
Especially this round.
Sorry to hear that, Reality, but, you know, it's the reality of the situation. Just have to deal with it, I guess. All right, so it looks like Flash, he's going to go ahead and scout his opponent out here. I also want to point out that Flash did not go for the CC first. He's instead opting to just, you know, get a Marine out. And his opponent, Reality, is going for a Reaper opening, so that's going to allow him to get a lot of good scouting information off.
And I would like to see what Flash does, because like we always say, it's either, you know, really fast command center into third base before the 10-minute mark. That's how Flash starts. But if he actually goes for the gas, then he might have something prepared. Or he might be just playing safe for once in a while, because his opponent is Reality. TvT is a TvT mirror matchup, so he needs to be careful how his opponent plays.
Yeah, of course, Flash not wanting to get taken off guard here. And you know what? I think that's perfectly okay for Flash to do, because if you become too predictable, your opponents are just going to start blind countering you, and you never want that.
Yeah, well, it really depends on if he's going to go for the fast third command center or not, but he's going to go for the factory first, while Reality also getting a factory out. Yeah,
so it looks like both players having very similar builds here. Flash using some good micro here. He does lose one of the Marines, but he's going to be able to, will he be able to snipe off that Reaper? It's getting very low on health. This Reaper looks like it will be able to potentially snap off the FCB, but no. Flash's micro is just too good, and the Reaper falls as well, so Flash getting the better trade here.
That has to be a missed micro by Reality at the last second. And the most crucial thing is that he did not see the command center. He saw the factory, but he didn't see the second gas. He didn't see the command center. So he doesn't know if this is an expansion build or if this is going to be the factory into Starport right away build. But Reality, he's playing it so greedy, getting a third command center right away.
I guess he is just expecting that expansion from Flash, knowing that Flash is a player, he's confident in his macro game, so, you know, why not go for that? Based on what he saw, I'm just assuming that Reality was like, all right, I think my opponent is just going to be playing it, you know, pretty straight up, so I'm going to go ahead and be the greedier player.
Yeah, well, to think about it again, he saw the factory timing, which was similar to his own factory timing, so that's why he expected a command center at the natural, and now Flash is getting a Stargate, but Reality has a third command center.
And also we have some Hellions being built by Flash here. He already has 2 out on the field, so I think we may see a potential drop here, but we also seeing a Viking here, interestingly enough, so maybe not going to go for that Hellion drop.
Oh, for defense against what his opponent might do, just in case, because the Widowmine drop is so popular, using the medevac to drop some Hellions inside the main base with a Widowmine. That's real, you know, that's really strong these days. So you want a Viking to defend against the medevac, or at least scare it away and make sure they cannot run away.
Yep. All right, well, it looks like I think we're gonna see mech here from Flash here, because I noticed, you know, he's not getting any more racks. He just built the tech lab, and the Raven. I remember you mentioning this. The Raven is a good sign that a Terran player is going to be moving into mech.
Oh yeah, it's a great sign. Well, you also have to see what they decide to go for a little early in the game. But the second factory, that's a definite factor that Flash is going to move into mech.
Yep. So seeing that second factory pretty much confirms that. Flash, of course, he played a great mech game against Fantasy earlier on in round 4. So not entirely surprised to see that from him again. He was looking pretty darn solid with that mech style.
Oh yeah, if the players can figure out how to get into mech, then I see some of these casual players preferring to go into mech a lot more than bio, because that's what they're used to from Brood War days. That's all they played. Back in Brood War, if you went mech against TvT, you were called the worst player out there. You never do that. You always go mech.
Exactly. So, oh, it looks like Flash, he's going to go ahead and take his third command center down. Surprisingly, he is bold enough to put it at his third base. Generally, Terran players, I've noticed, like we saw from Reality, he just made it in his, you know, in his main base there.
Oh yeah, so now he just wants to... I think he suspected his opponent's timing after seeing some of the buildings there, so he might be expecting, well, my opponent might went for the third command center really fast, so I need to build it at the third base right away instead of lifting and then moving it over there, which takes a longer time.
So I have to say a pretty smart assessment there. We also have Blue Flame being researched by Flash here, and the double factory is scouted, so Reality, he knows that he's going to be playing against mech, but Reality opting to go for Biotank himself.
Oh yeah, so now he needs to... Now, Reality, there's going to be a point in the game where he needs to start harassing around. If not, then Flash is going to have too much mech army, and Reality is going to be a point where he could harass around the map, but he can't face the main army. Yeah. So that's what Reality needs to do. He has the mobility. He has the booster. So how well is he going to use it?
Exactly. Using the Ignite Afterburners from the Medivacs, going to play a key role in this matchup here. And, I mean, if we look, there's a lot of airspace that Flash has to cover, but smartly, he already has some Vikings and a Raven there to be ready to defend against that.
It's a fantastic play by Flash. He knows what his opponent has to do to actually win the game. He knows that his opponent went for the bio, so he needs to go for the drops. I mean, the Raven was there early in the game to defend against the Banshees, but if you actually save it up later in the game, you could use that for, you know, the Secret Missile, which is great against, you know, siege tanks or even some bio units that are clumped up. And Flash behind us, he's getting Hellbats.
All right, so we're going to be seeing some Hellbats out from Flash. I'm sure he'll be researching the upgrade to convert his Hellions into Hellbats in the future here, because he already has a lot of those. Both players also doing really good air defense here, and I have a feeling that both players aren't even trying to go for drop play just because they both expect it. It's so obvious on this map, I feel.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Reality's not going to try to pressure with the mobility that he has. That's a little surprising, given that, you know, his opponent is going for mech. Now, Flash, I understand why he's not going for the drop. He doesn't need to risk it. Rather, he needs to defend against the drops, and that's all he needs to do in this game, essentially. Because if you let a Terran player go into mech, and if you get up to 200, that's a really scary-looking army, even as a Protoss player facing mech. Like, the reason why Protoss players are strong against mech, because they have such a huge timing window where the Immortals and some of the other gateway units can do a lot of damage against the mech before it gets to 200.
I also want to mention that Flash is ahead in the army supplies here, and generally, as a bio Terran, you do not want to be behind on supplies against a mech player.
But you don't want to engage that with Hellions only, because those are 4 siege tanks.
Exactly, you do need the siege tank backbone to engage that bio army here. So I think Reality, it looks like he wants to get a little bit aggressive here, but he's going to have a little bit of trouble doing that, because, I mean, Flash, he is just well fortified by the third base there.
Definitely, and that's also one of the reasons why he took the third command center earlier in the game, to fortify it and to make sure that he could secure that area earlier in the game before Reality pushes out and force Flash into 2-base situation. All
right, so it looks like Flash, he is going to be a little bit behind on the upgrades compared to his opponent right now, because 2-2 already on the way for Reality. He's also getting that +1 attack for his siege tank, so not really seeing as much upgrades coming out from Flash.
I have to say, I like that Reality is slowly pushing out on the map. If he faces Flash's army head-to-head, yes, he is going to lose, but he's just slowly pushing out so that he gains some map coverage, and now he's going to try to secure the line for the late game.
Exactly. Containing Flash would be a great position for Reality to get himself into, because, you know, if he can just keep taking expansions and prevent Flash from taking a 4th base, really TvT, it just comes down to draining out your opponent.
I'm just surprised that Reality is actually not going for the drops in this game, really, because he knows that he can't face the army head-on, and he needs to make sure that he needs to deal some economic damage against his opponent. So he either needs to take an extra expansion or go for the harassment, and he is taking a 4th base while also trying to flank from the top with the bio units, because he knows that he could remake it so early, you know, after he loses them, you know, so quickly.
Yeah, going for that flank, maybe that's the decision he can make. But we have an engagement going on here. Flash moving forward with a lot of his units here, and this force is just getting completely crushed by Flash. The Hellbats completely obliterating everything here. The siege tank line also very strong, but look at this. So many SCVs are getting killed off here because of this Bioforce, and I want to say, even though Flash won the main engagement, I still think like Reality got the better edge here. He killed 21 SCVs.
Here's the biggest problem. Now Flash can push out and win the game because his opponent does not have any units. That's the biggest thing. If Reality can hold the attack once, well, if the during this engagement, if Reality can hold the attack once, then he could actually win this game because he killed 21 SCVs. But the problem is, it's such huge ball by Flash, and yeah, Flash is not happy about the disconnection.
He's certainly not. Luckily, there's resume from replay.
Well, we don't know what the Kesper roles are.
We don't, but I would assume that they're going to use resume from replay in the case of this issue.
Well,
all right, moment of truth, guys. It looks like they are going to be using that resume from replay feature here.
I don't... Was it a resume from replay or take over?
Sorry, I get those two mixed up, but essentially I think it was the take command from the replay.
I hope so, because last time when that happened in GSTO, there was so many buzz about it, about how the players were able to see what their opponent's position is. And here we go, the Marines trying to go for the siege tanks once again.
Yeah, but there is a solid siege line there from Flash, and now Flash moving in towards this 4th base here. There are a good amount of siege tanks for Flash here when there's only 2 for our Samsung player, but now the Bio, it's just moving straight in. The Hellions are out of position. The Vikings will be able to kill off all these medevacs, but the Raven does go down for Flash. And it's a very close battle here. The Vikings on the ground.
He actually won the huge battle. I mean, he took out the Marines, not the Marines, but the siege tank 1 by 1. Here comes the reinforcement, but he did buy enough time to take a lot of those siege tanks down.
Flash still moving in there with his tanks. He's getting his siege tanks in a perfect position to start shelling down that orbital command here. And this is going to be the real issue for Reality. If he can't hold onto the space here, then I feel like Flash will be able to take another expansion, and then it may just turn into the slowly, you know, draining your opponent's resources battle. Well,
I have to say, the one thing that I was really worried about Reality during this whole time is, can he actually save the 4th base? And he was able to do so. He's on Bioforces, and he has more economy than his opponent, who's going for the mech composition. And now look at this, slowly taking out those Hellbats. He even has, look at the siege tank count, it's 6-6.
Oh, that is not good. It looks like Reality has been able to make a very good situation of this. He was also able to snipe off a few of those tanks. And look at this, the Marauders are moving in now. Scan on the tanks. Flash's army completely destroyed here. And the supplies now, 167 to 109. Flash is not in the best position here.
Oh yeah, as a mech player, once your main army gets taken out, that's a key for the Bio player to go for the counter-attack and win the game. Now we have the siege tanks, 4 siege tanks to 4 siege tanks of Flash. He's gonna have 3 more additional siege tanks coming out, but he doesn't have that many Hellbats against the Bio units of Reality, and all Reality has to do is slowly push in to the 3rd base.
Yep, those Marauders are gonna be able to do much better DPS than those Hellbats, especially versus tanks. And now look at this, SCVs being pulled off of the middle line. The tanks are shelling down a lot of those Hellions. Flash, he is so far down in siege tank count now. He has, it looks like, well, now it's 6-6, but the siege tanks, they aren't at the front lines yet.
Oh yeah, definitely, and Flash is just slowly getting the siege tanks out, but the problem is, like I said, the Hellbat production cannot match the Bio production. This is really looking dire for Flash.
And that's the biggest issue for Flash now. Look at this, Medivacs dropping.
GG!
Reality takes another game for Samsung Khan, evening up the score 2-2, and Flash clearly not happy about that loss. It looks like maybe his mentality was shaken a little bit.
I have to say, because his helmets were completely out of position when the Marines and the Marauders were going for the siege tanks, and that allowed Reality to pick up like 2 or 3 siege tanks before the main battle happened.
Not just that, but I've noticed that there are a lot of times where Flash's tanks were simply naked. There was no support from the Hellbats, and that was one of the biggest issues in his army. So, guys, currently the score 2-2 between Samsung Khan and KT Rolska here. We're going to go into the 5th set shortly here. It's going to be Stork versus Stats on Fighting Spirit.
And this is also a great situation for Samsung Khan because they could end it before going into the ace match, because now if Stork and Zhangbi wins, you know, they win 4-2 and they don't have to face Flash again.
It's very true. Not having to face Flash is a win in anybody's book. So stick around, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.